Health insurance, something most of us need but often find expensive and confusing. Reports suggest that rising premiums, frequent claim rejections, and dense policy jargon are eroding public trust. At the same time, aggregators are under pressure to rebuild credibility and expand access. So, joining us to unpack these challenges is Amit Chhabra, Chief Business Officer, General Insurance at Policybazaar. Thank you for joining me now, Amit. So, how are insurance companies addressing the rising health insurance premiums, especially for younger policyholders who are increasingly finding them unaffordable?
Sure. See, I think it's a very very pertinent question, and let me address it in two ways. So one, are premiums increasing? Because there is a lot of talk about premiums increasing. We see these cases on social media where where premiums where you see that somebody's premiums have increased by 50%, 60%, 70%. A perception, unfortunately, that is developed with that is that everybody's premiums are increasing by a very large percentage. So the first thing is, about half of the customers every year see a premium increase of less than 5%. So it's a very, very nominal increase. It also increases because as age increases, your premiums are supposed to increase. That's how the contracting of health insurance is. So a very large chunk sees practically no price increase, right? The people who see a very large price increase, there are typically two kinds of people who see a very large price increase. One is people who have a low sum insured policy. So let's say you have a policy of 3 lakh sum insured, 2 lakh sum insured, and historically, 5-7 years back, that these were the policies that were sold in the market, or these were the policies that were bought by consumers in the market. The problem is, as the medical inflation has increased, and now the average claim size is about 80,000 rupees. 5 years back, the average claim size was about 30,000 rupees. Hospitalization has, cost of hospitalization has gone up. So in these low sum insured policies is where one is seeing the maximum price increase. So that is, one has to just look at data in context to what's happening. Specifically, you mentioned young people. Typically, if you are young and you have an adequate sum insured, at least 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs sum insured, then your price increase will not be very significant. Insurance companies have a cycle of increasing prices, and typically what they do is they would increase once every 3 to 5 years. So let's say when you bought the policy, you bought it around the fourth year of the cycle, and next year you saw a price increase. So unfortunately, what's going to happen is, as a consumer, you're going to see that my premiums increased right after buying the policy, but the good news is they will not increase again next year and the year after and the year after. Secondly, if yes, you do unfortunately find yourself in a situation, when you lie in the segment where there has been a significant price increase, there are a few things that one can do. One is you can look for a better option. So one can, at the time of renewal, port your policy into a cheaper option. That is an option available to every consumer. It's a right of every health insurance policy holder. Second thing is, you can also take a deductible in your health insurance policy. A deductible means that you basically say, you promise that the first, say, 25,000 rupees of a claim will be paid by the customer. The rest entire amount will be paid by the insurance company. This typically gets you a 20% discount on premium. Thirdly, you can also pay on EMIs.
So let's talk about the health insurance claim rejections. So what measures, or are any measures being taken to reduce the high rate of health insurance claim rejections? Which stood at around 11% in the financial year 2024, according to the government data.
Sure. See, claims, and it's very, very important to again understand this well enough. Claims can only get rejected because of two reasons. They can either get rejected if the customer is going against the terms and conditions of the policies. Like, for example, let's say my health insurance policy says that I can go to a single private AC room within a hospital, but I, for some reason, want to take a deluxe room. So if you take a deluxe room, then the insurance company won't pay the full claim. They would only pay up to the single private AC room, because that is what the policy says. So then this is just one example. Let's say my policy says that there is a 2 year waiting period for knee replacement, but I buy the policy and next month I want to do my knee replacement. Now, obviously, the claim will get denied because there is a waiting period for knee replacement. For an honest consumer, the problem is most of the times we find out that they're not aware of the terms and conditions of the policies. That is where making sure that you're buying correctly and making an informed decision becomes extremely important. One should always keep their broker or agent in the picture when one is going for a claim or planning for a claim. So, what we tell all our consumers is when you're about to go for a claim, if it's not an emergency claim, please inform us before you're going for the claim, so that we even ensure that a pre approval is done even before you go into the hospital. And then it can become a hotel kind of a process where you go, your room is already reserved, you check in, you get your treatment done, and then you walk out of the hospital. In case it's a emergency treatment, because a lot of times it's accidents or some emergency, we tell our consumers to inform us as soon as as soon as they are going to the hospital or they are in the hospital, so that we ensure that the claim process is seamless and there is no confusion in the policy terms and conditions. So yes, that has to be taken care of, and then all these 11% of the claims can be taken care of.
But Mr. Chabra, understanding the terms and condition is a problem here. Like customers often complain that policy documents are riddled with fine print, confusing jargon, and unclear clauses. And I'm sure not everyone will be able to, understand every single clause. Or even, even the broker or the agent might have missed a couple of points, while explaining or while selling the product customer. So, such things sometimes, it often become grounds for claim rejections also. So why haven't insurance done more, or have insurers done anything to make these terms transparent and easier to understand? Or are the insurance providers doing anything about simplifying the policy documents to help customers better understand the exclusions, the waiting periods, and other critical terms that you were just talking about?
Sure. See, I think there is, I would say there has been some progress on simplification. I won't say that we are there yet fully. At Policy Bazaar, as an intermediary, also, we do also try hard to ensure that one is communicate well enough and we standardize the communication. So we try that. But again, as you said, I think at times, specifically, if somebody is not so well educated or somebody is very elderly, they do have a hard time understanding the policy benefits. That is there. But again, as an industry, I think we're moving in that direction.
Okay, so let's talk about youngsters who are interested in health insurance. So, what are the trends in health insurance, and how much youngsters are interested in insurance? So, what's the breakup of your clientele, if you could give us that data, and how many in the age group of 20 to 30 and various other age brackets? Yeah.
So typically, what we have seen is 18 to 25 is it's increasing as a share, but it's typically around 10 to 12% only. It's not a very very large share. Although, if you really ask me, that's where a bulk of India's population lies. But also the reality is this is not still 18 to 25 is not where people start earning or start earning much. It's actually 25 to 35 is where we see the maximum traffic coming in. In fact, the median age for us is 32 years. So we see the maximum traffic coming in the 25 to 35 segment, and I'll explain two reasons why. One is that is where people start to earn money, and they start to make good money. So protection starts coming into their mindset. That's one. Second is 25 to 35 is also the time when a lot of life milestones kick in. You get married, you have children, and these typically are milestones where you start thinking about protection a lot more.
So, Policybazaar is an aggregator. So, how do you attract your customers as they have the choice to go directly to the insurance company to take care of their needs?
Sure. See, I think there are obviously various methods. There are the traditional marketing methods. We do a lot of brand advertising and all of that. But I would say the biggest advertisement as Policy Bazaar for us is when our customers' claims are seamless. So just to give you some perspective, every month we ask feedback from our consumers on their post-sales experience with Policy Bazaar. This could mean any interaction around claims or renewal or endorsement. We get close to 1 lakh responses every month, where out of those 1 lakh people, 92% people say that they were happy with with their experience with Policy Bazaar. Every month, close to 5,000 claims which were rejected in the past, we get those reconsidered and approved by the insurance companies. So our biggest advertisement is actually a happy customer, more than anything else. But just to also give you some context, we have spent close to more than 1,000 crores on just insurance awareness, through the last many years of
That was
policy.
supposed to be my next question. So, how do you raise awareness and in especially in underinsured regions of the country? Given the fact that you cannot actually solicit customers, and yes, since you just said that you've spent over 1,000 crore rupees, to raise awareness, could you please elaborate on that?
Sure. See, we do a lot of, so one is obviously we do a lot of brand advertising, and so we do raise a lot of awareness, around insurance and why insurance is needed, and why one must have adequate protection cover. Our focus is typically on the people who are in the 5 lakhs to 20 lakhs annual salary bracket, and we extensively create awareness on why they should have health insurance and life insurance. So people also come to Policybazaar to buy the mandatory products, which is, for example, two-wheeler insurance or car insurance. So to those consumers also, we try to create awareness around, why you should also have a health insurance policy and a life insurance policy. So we do a lot of work on that. We also work a lot on, word of mouth. I'll give you an interesting data point also. At Policybazaar, what we have seen is our share of consumers coming from the non-top 20 cities of the country. So beyond the top 20 cities of the country, that is steadily increasing every month practically. So what we are seeing is from the top 20 cities of the country, we used to earlier get about 60% of the traffic. That has now started to change. So we get a lot of tier 2, tier 3 traffic now. And now the share of the top 20 cities is only 40%. So 60%.
2024 data, sir? Is it
Yes, this is
2024 data?
this is no, so 60% was about 3 years back, and this is now, this is as of now.
Could
So
it
our
also
share.
attribute because after COVID, many went back to their hometowns, which is not a tier one or two city, to because of the work from home availability option. So could that also be a reason?
Could be, but I would still feel that the major chunk of, the major reason is that in the smaller cities also now there is more awareness.
Can we talk a bit about outpatient insurance too? Because it's not just that when you get admitted to a hospital, you spend thousands or lakhs of rupees. Sometimes even a simple visit to a doctor for a fever or for a sprain, it could, you might end up, spending 20, 30, or even 50,000 rupees as an outpatient. So, can you tell us a bit about your outpatient insurance product?
Hospitalization is a relatively rare event, but an outpatient treatment is a very very common outcome, and we see that typically out of, if you look at the population, overall about 50 to 60% people every year do visit a doctor at least once. It could be a dentist, it could be a general practitioner, it could be a specialist, it could be some treatment that one needs which does not need hospitalization but does need medication, and so on and so forth. So actually, outpatient is a much more common use case. Now, consumers realize OPD insurance is important because it's becoming very expensive and very common. This typically covers any doctor consultations, any medicines one has to take, dental procedures or checkups. It even covers vision procedures and checkups. You can even buy spectacles in some cases. So it's a
How are
fairly.
the premiums for these insurances?
So it depends. It depends, on the kind of product, and how open the product is, etc., etc. But typically, on an average, this will be about 20% of the health insurance premium at a very high level average.
So let's say that a person already has a health insurance policy, and the person has a, let's say pre-existing condition like arthritis, which need not, which does not require hospitalization, but still requires, frequent doctor visits, and the medicines are very costly and the tests are very costly. In such cases, how the premiums will be for outpatient insurance?
See, it depends, right? Like in case of arthritis, there will be OPD claims coming from day one because there will be some medicine that the customer is already taking. There will be some consultations, probably some treatments, etc., that are already happening. So in these cases, the premiums end up being higher. A lot of times, insurance companies also deny OPD policies in such cases as well. See, because it's not a chance event, right? Insurance is supposed to be a chance event. Like I'm fit and fine, and in case I need to go to OPD, then there is a certain cost to it. But this becomes almost like a guaranteed event, because if somebody is already having arthritis, then you will take medicines and you will then claim immediately after buying the policy. So what also a lot of companies do is they also put waiting periods on in such cases. So again, there are different use cases. But when I said average, so yeah, it's the average of all kind of consumers. Typically 20-25% of the premium is the cost of the OPD health insurance.